Vengeance. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. You think darkness is your ally? I was born in it. I was wondering what would break first. Your spirit or your body? You know what I'm saying? We basically have a Batman renaissance at this point. That was probably one of the wildest openings I think I've ever done for one of these Raw reviews, but you have Rhea Ripley coming out in a Batman mask, so I have to act accordingly. This episode of Raw was unequivocally garbage, right? It just was. I realized as I'm going through my daily processes, I'm like, the only thing that really irritates me and bothers me is Monday Night Raw. That's literally it. Because everything else I'm completely fine with. Like SmackDown even. Every now and then, like, recently, we'll get a great SmackDown episode, so that's that. But when is the last time we've had a great Raw? When is the last time? Nothing happens, it's boring, it's nonsensical, which we're going to get to in a second, and this episode was just straight up horrible. There were a couple things, though, that I will say were absolutely phenomenal in tonight's episode, but overall, it was a bad product. So let's get into the review. And before we get to anything else, I want to show you guys a special graphic that I saw on Raw tonight that basically was on during the Bianca and Nia Jax main event. Now, I'm just going to flash the picture up here. These are all the people with the most amount of wins on WWE this year on TV. Now, look at the numbers and look at the totals. Bianca Belair is at the very top with 24, and you look through the rest of the list, you see Jey Uso, Damian Priest, yada yada yada. Where is Cody Rhodes? Where is Gunther? The two workhorses, the two captains, the North Star, the wrestling industry. None of these guys have contributed anything on TV this year. Rhea Ripley's not on this list. None of these people are on this list. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I tell you that these champions don't do anything on the shows. They don't wrestle. They don't cut memorable promos. Even though Cody actually cut a great promo on SmackDown last week, that was the only great promo he's had all year, most likely, right? Maybe he had one or two others out of 11 months. You get what I'm saying? This is why I tell you guys, these dudes don't wrestle, and it makes them boring. The people who aren't on this list, or at least the champions that aren't on this list, are all boring. Except for what? I don't even know. What LA Knight maybe? I don't even know, man. LA Knight and Braun Breaker are awesome. But I'm talking about the main world champions. Gunther and Cody Rhodes should be wrestling consistently. Instead, they're not even in the discussion with any of these people who actually wrestle week to week or multiple times a month. It's embarrassing. Now, this episode of Raw started off with one of the worst segments in the history of the WWE. I kid you not. And I don't even have it in me to really yell tonight. I don't have it in me to rage because it's not worth raging over. This is a bad episode, and we're accustomed to this at this point. Raw has no superstars. They have no star power. They have no intrigue. And quite frankly, nothing happens on Raw. Nothing has happened on Raw in a very long time, actually, now that I think about it. But anyways, opening segment, Gunther is in the ring. He basically comes out to a mid-pop, which again, Rhea Ripley, Jey Uso, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus even, Braun Breaker, a CM Punk, Roman Reigns, all these people get better pops than Gunther. And none of them have World Championship gold, which goes to show you that the world title means nothing. Nobody beholds Gunther as some top star because he has a world championship. Nobody cares about Gunther, right? When's the last time anyone asked you, do you want some Gunther merch? Who says that? I want Gunther merch. No one says that garbage. Gunther comes out and he's basically being asked by Jackie Redmond, hey, do you think that you're confident ahead of this match? Do you think that you're going to win this match on Survivor Series versus Damian Priest? And Gunther stands there with a straight face, again, the little cuckold face he was doing like a week or two ago on Raw, where he just basically can't speak. He doesn't say anything. And then Damian Priest comes out, and Damian Priest pretty much says on the mic, he's like, no, Jackie, I want you to hand Gunther the mic, and I want to see if Gunther has grew a set and actually has the guts to talk to me face to face. Gunther still stands there with nothing to say, and Damian Priest basically says, Gunther, the reason that you have lost all of your aura, you have no presence anymore, pretty much. The reason why is because you've never dealt with a problem like me. This is step one of why this promo was horrible. Why is Damian Priest a problem? Can someone please explain to me why Damian Priest is a problem to Gunther? Gunther is the World Heavyweight Champion. Damian Priest has won World Championship gold one time, and that's the same amount of times that Gunther has won it, right? But the point is with Damian Priest, he's a career jobber. He's been a tag champ. He was a U.S. champ like 3 years ago. He hasn't accomplished pretty much anything when it comes to championships. Gunther is the longest reigning IC champion ever. He's a world champion, and he has problems getting over the mental hurdle, quote unquote, of Damian Priest? Really? Because he didn't beat Damian Priest clean at SummerSlam? Guess what? He didn't beat Randy Orton clean at King of the Ring. And when Bash in Berlin came around and they were going to fight for the world title, he still was belittling Randy Orton. He was telling him all these things you accomplished. You're still nothing compared to me. I'm the ring general. I'm the champion. So he can talk down to Randy Orton, who he didn't beat clean, but he can't talk down to Damian Priest, who he didn't beat clean. You see what I'm saying? Nothing about this makes any sense. Gunther is basically telling us that Randy Orton is lesser of a threat than Damian Priest, a guy who's won 2 championships in WWE. Or 3. A tag belt, a U.S. belt and a world championship where he was a transitional champion. Randy Orton is a 14-time world champion. And Gunther is talking down to Randy Orton but won't talk down to Damian Priest. He can't even utter a word to Damian Priest. And after this happens, he sneak attacks Damian with a mic and like beats him up for like a minute. And then Damian Priest just gets the upper hand and does the South of Heaven through or not the South of Heaven, the straight of Razor's Edge kind of like you know what I'm talking about, man, the Razor's Edge. He just does that through the announce table to Gunther, and Gunther just gets laid out. What is the point of this? Gunther is officially a jobber. I'm just sick of hearing about how great this guy is on the mic and how he's a great promo worker. He's not. He's not athletic in the ring. He's a very overrated wrestler. But we're treating this guy like he's a legend, but the booking doesn't treat him like he's a legend. So I'm done, man. I really am done. So, you know, that's just the situation with this. Pretty much the segment ends with this. Damian Priest stands over him with the belt, and that's it. Gunther is officially a jobber, and they're doing all of this just for Gunther to retain the championship at Survivor Series. He's going to retain the belt, and he's going to win the match. So what's the point of all this? What is the point? Does anybody know? Why are we making Gunther look weak just for him to win again? It's just so nonsensical. And the stuff with Orton that I mentioned, it's really stupid. But you know what? It is what it is. Now, after this horrendous segment, we get a segment backstage with Bianca, Naomi, Io, and Rhea Ripley. Pretty much it's the classic stuff of, you know, you have these forced alliances, so everyone's like kind of at odds or whatnot. And Bianca and Naomi are like, we got to figure out what happened to Jade. And Bianca's like, but before we figure that out, we got to get our 5th member for War Games, and I got to beat Nia Jax to get this advantage. Now, obviously, we know the 5th member is going to be Bayley. Everyone knew this before this episode of Raw even came out, but, you know, I guess we have to pretend like we don't know anything, right? The WWE has to treat us like we're absolute delusional, just random morons. But anyways, Rhea Ripley basically comes backstage in her Batman mask. I'm Batman. She comes back there, she's like, hey, Bianca, I don't care what happens. I just need you to make sure that I can get my hands on Liv Morgan and take back the title that I never lost, yeah? I never lost, yeah? I'm so done with this. I'm so done with this, man. Rhea Ripley at this point, if you really want to beat up Liv Morgan so bad, why don't you show up to work and start wrestling? You haven't had a world championship match since SummerSlam. I'm like, what happened to rematch clauses? Why can't you just go back and just fight someone again for the title that she never even lost correctly in the first place? She had to relinquish it due to injury. So what's the point? None of this stuff makes literally any sense whatsoever. It really is nonsensical when you think about it, right? But Rhea Ripley's all in it for herself. She wants to beat up Liv Morgan, and Bianca's like, you know what? I don't even care what you want. I'm gonna try and win this this advantage match, and that's all I'm worried about right now. Low key though, I'm starting to think that Bianca was the one who attacked Jade. I'm not going to lie. I can see them doing, one of Triple H's signature long-term booking deals where Bianca attacked Jade behind closed doors, because she may have gotten jealous or upset or whatnot, and that sets up Jade and Bianca feuding, maybe when Jade returns. Who knows what's happening? Maybe Jade legitimately got hurt. There is rumors that she actually had a legitimate off-screen injury that they had to write her off for, so who knows, man? Who knows who attacked her, but we'll talk about that at a later date and time. And after this happens, we actually got a very good match between Julius Creed and Brutus Creed, the Creed brothers, versus Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. Now, before I get into this, though, WWE officially announced before the show tonight, they announced that they're going to be a Women's Intercontinental Championship, and there will be a tournament in place for this title that starts next week on Raw. It's pretty obvious, everyone already knows this, that once the Women's U.S. title was announced, we were going to get a Women's Intercontinental Championship, so that's that. This is kind of cool. The Raw mid-card of women is actually pretty bad, though. I mean, the whole Raw roster is pretty garbage, to be honest with you, but especially in the women's division. I mean, who's going to take this title? Lyra Valkyria? Dakota Kai? Those are the only legitimate options to win this thing. Zelina Vega would be nice, but Zelina Vega, man, she just doesn't have it anymore, man. She hasn't cut a good promo in a long time. She hasn't been given the opportunity to do so, which means that WWE pretty much doesn't really have faith in her. And then on top of that, she's wrestling pretty mid-matches, so I'm assuming Dakota Kai or Lyra Valkyria is going to walk away with this championship when it's all said and done, but who knows? We'll see. Then we get back to this match. This match between the Creed Bros and Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee was awesome. Julius Creed is an athletic freak. Okay, same thing with Dragon Lee, but Julius Creed is like a big, monstrous freak who's doing a bunch of different, I don't even know, he's doing 450 splashes, he's doing springboard moves, he's dodging moves, he's got great counters and a great move set, like these unique suplex formations he does. He was doing a phenomenal job in this match. He's really the standout here. Dragon Lee was doing all kinds of, athletic Hurricane Ranas in different ways. This was a very entertaining match, and it had a pretty solid finish with Chad Gable coming in after the ref was distracted, and he basically turns Rey Mysterio's mask in a way where Rey Mysterio can't see, and then Julius Creed does a roll-up on Rey Mysterio, pins him, and American Made gets the W. Now, I have to say, American Made,
quite frankly, should be getting a push. They should eventually win the tag team gold, and Chad Gable should probably be fighting for an IC championship soon, because he should have already been IC champion earlier this year. He should have took it off of Sami Zayn, in my opinion, when he was having that really hot run as a heel and he was bullying Alpha Academy. That was his greatest run of his career by far, and they didn't pull the trigger. So hopefully going forward they actually do that, but this is a pretty cool segment. Then after this, we actually get one of the more better segments in Finn Balor's career, at least in recent memory, of a backstage segment / promo. He basically is telling the team to, get together. R-Truth stops by, and it's really funny because R-Truth is basically like, I'm running away from Butch, man. And Finn's like, you're going to be running away from me in a second if you keep getting in my business. And then R-Truth's like, you're not coming to Thanksgiving. We're not family anymore. I'm done with you. Like, R-Truth is a national treasure at this point. R-Truth is awesome. But after this, Finn Balor pretty much cuts a charismatic segment / promo where he's basically telling everyone, when you follow what Finn Balor, we have no leaders in this group, but when you follow what I say, we can do very big and very special things. So everyone start following my lead and let's move on from there. And he tells Dominic, after you didn't do your job last week along with Carlito, now we have to go through the situation that we are in now where we have to fight the War Raiders. It was a pretty impassioned promo. He was telling Liv, like, it's time for you to lock in and, win this War Games match and win the match and, defend your status as world champion. It was pretty good and actually made me care somewhat about Finn Balor again, which is good to see. Me personally, I think Finn Balor and JD McDonough should split from this group immediately. Everyone else in this group is an absolute jobber and I don't care for any of them, right? Dominic Mysterio has been playing the same character now for 2 years and it's getting boring. It's the same situation with Liv Morgan as well. Liv Morgan's been a jobber though for a good bit, so that's none of my business. Same thing with Raquel. Carlito has some comedic appeal, but at this point, it's time to retire, bro. It really is for this guy. He's washed up. But that's pretty much the situation with that. And then after this, we get Braun Breaker versus Ludwick Kaiser, and this was an absolute meathead match for about 10 minutes or however long it lasted. Braun Breaker is basically, at this point, Braun Breaker is the future of the industry. I've been saying this for a minute now, but Braun Breaker is next up. He's next in line. He is going to eventually be a superstar, right? In the ring, he's an absolute freakish athlete. I mean, he's professional athlete level. That's why he was nearly in the NFL. You get what I mean? On top of that, the stuff he was doing in this match, he did his, classic Frankensteiner move. The selling is great. Braun Breaker, too, just has just a crazy energy in the ring. He kind of reminds me of Montez Ford in that aspect. They just have so much energy when they're out there, which is great to see from the, the younger talents like Braun Breaker. And pretty much, dude, this was the craziest spot. This is the biggest thing to talk about. Braun Breaker is running full speed doing that run around the ring spear thing that he does, right? And he misses Ludwig and rams rib first into the announce table on the sharp edge, and the ref has to go attend to him because you could tell it actually kind of hurt him, legitimately it actually kind of hurt him. It was a very, very crazy spot. If you saw it, you know what I'm saying? He runs full speed at the corner of the announce table, but pretty much what happens with this situation is that once he gets up, Ludwig Kaiser lines him up to kind of drop kick him against the stairs, and as he's doing that, Sheamus hits him from behind. It ends in a DQ, and we get a massive brawl for about 2 or 3 minutes at this point, right? After this brawl happens, a commercial break hits, and we come back. They're still brawling around, and then Adam Pearce, by the way, the security is really weird here. For some reason, Damian Priest was able to powerbomb Gunther through a table, but for some reason, when Sheamus and Braun Breaker are just looking at each other, all of the security in the locker room just comes out to separate them. So you can't look at people, but you can powerbomb people. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Triple H. You're a great booker. You're not. Anyways, the problem here with this situation is this. We basically get announced by Adam Pearce that we're going to get a triple threat match at War Games with Braun Breaker, Sheamus, and Ludwig for the Intercontinental Championship. Is this match going to be good? Most likely. Is it just done to make a full-out brawl, and is it done because it's rushed? Because WWE, for some reason, only had 3 matches on the Survivor Series card before tonight? Absolutely, it's rushed. But at the end of the day, I'm kind of excited for this match. It's going to be a car wreck, and it's going to be entertaining. And I feel like War Games, everything being chaotic, that's kind of the nature of the PLE. So this should be cool. The fact that it's rushed, though, is what bothers me, because we also have another match that was announced that was rushed. LA Knight is going to be fighting Shinsuke Nakamura for the U.S. Championship at Survivor Series. This match is also incredibly rushed. They haven't yet said a word to each other. They haven't fought at all in the ring. Nakamura has just hit him a couple times from behind. That's literally it. And on top of that, LA Knight literally hasn't even said anything about this guy. So why does Nakamura get to return after jobbing out for Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins and a couple other people like Ricochet? I'm pretty sure he lost to Ricochet or Ilya Dragunov after WrestleMania. That was the last time he was seen for 7 months. He comes back and just gets a U.S. title shot immediately? What? Where's Carmelo Hayes' one-on-one U.S. title shot? Or Andrade again? whatever. I'd much rather see them wrestle than Shinsuke boring moron. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. But that match is rushed. We're going to talk about Survivor Series tomorrow, man, because I have a video coming out. The PLE is incredibly rushed, and quite frankly, none of it makes any sense. And Survivor Series does look like it's going to be pretty bad outside of the Bloodline match, but we'll get to that in tomorrow's video. Anyways, then after this, we pretty much get a actual, this was actually probably the greatest part of the show, I'm not going to lie. Before we get to this match, it was a match between the New Day and the Alpha Academy, but before we get to that, let's talk about this little Uso segment in the back. Sami Zayn pretty much says to Kathy Kelly, he's like, look, we finally got our 5th member for War Games, and Roman Reigns and CM Punk are going to have a sit-down conversation this week on SmackDown. So that should be a pretty fun segment. I'm actually looking forward to seeing them discuss things and, talk about the whole situation with them, uniting to be with the OG Bloodline to fight against the new Bloodline at Survivor Series. So that's the situation with that. Pretty much Jey Uso is going to fight Jacob Fatu as well on SmackDown in the Advantage match for War Games. I'm assuming that Jacob Fatu is probably going to win this match most likely, so that the good guys will be, at a disadvantage. But either way, this should be a cool match, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. Jey Uso brought like an insane energy. He was telling Jacob Fatu, I'm going to whoop your butt, when I see you, bro. I'm going to dog walk you, you know what I'm saying? So that should be pretty interesting. Pretty fun segment. A little bit of humor in there too with Jimmy Uso and Sammy as usual. So, that was pretty nice. Now let's get back to what I was going to talk about before. This match with the New Day and the Alpha Academy, nobody cares about this. This is nonsensical. Nobody cares about this, right? Tozawa actually ends up pinning Xavier Woods in about like 2 minutes. So nobody cares. Kofi and Xavier Woods have miscommunications as per usual, and they end up losing the match. The point of this thing is that this is one of the better segments I've seen on Raw in a long time. Xavier Woods and Kofi go backstage, and they get in an absolute verbal warfare, and this was a phenomenal segment. Kofi Kingston brings up the fact that Xavier has never won singles gold by himself. Well, I don't know why he said that in the promo. He said he's never won singles gold by himself. Obviously, it's by himself if it's called singles gold, but anyways, Kofi Kingston basically says, you've never won a singles belt. You needed me and Big E for success. There's a reason we've accomplished world championship goal and you've never won it. And then Kofi Kingston says the reason why the reason why you're even here is because of me and Big E. And then Xavier Woods fires back. He's like, you had the chance to be a world champion. You did all that, and then you blew it away in 6 seconds after losing to Brock Lesnar. And then Xavier Woods also brings up another bomb, drops another bomb. He's like, you know what, Kofi? Before I brought you into the New Day with Big E, you didn't do anything. You had never competed for a world title. You had never won a world title, and you were irrelevant until I came along and elevated you. I helped you. And then Kofi's like, no, I elevated you. There's a reason me and Big E had success, and you didn't do anything at all. While I was shining your shoes and, rubbing your cape after you won King of the Ring, you were still nothing because you could not progress past that second level to become what me and Big E were. In that moment, man, Xavier Woods and Kofi are just going at it, bro. It was a bomb drop segment. But the problem with this segment is this. Why did we have to wait 6 months to get this segment? This is why the long-term booking makes absolutely no sense. All that Kofi and Xavier had to do after a couple disagreements like a few months ago is have a segment this good. And then we would have been invested in what happened next, like legitimately invested, because now I'm actually invested into the New Day reunion that's going to happen next week, because it actually matters. But when you just prolong the inevitable for 6 or 7 months for the eventual turn by one of these guys, it just gets boring. Why in the world would we ever need to wait 6 months to get one great segment? It makes no sense. You couldn't have had this segment take place 2 or 3 months ago? To just go ahead and hurry up and get it to the New Day reunion or the New Day celebration? You get what I'm saying? They prolonged you 6 months for one great moment that could have happened months ago, and that would have set in motion a potential heel turn for Kofi or Woods. Now you don't know who's going to turn heel. It's more interesting. They finally brought out the bombs and the haymakers we've been waiting for, and it did not need to take 6 months to a year to build this up. It really didn't. And this is what it shows itself true inside of this segment. Great segment by Xavier and Kofi. It didn't need to take this long. But next week, I am excited to see where this goes. I wonder who's going to turn heel. Me personally, I think Kofi is going to be the one to turn heel on Xavier Woods. Or Big E might come back and reveal that maybe he's healthy to fight again and he has to split them up. Or maybe Big E gets accidentally hit by Kofi and Xavier arguing. But it should be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. This segment and this backstage promo segment was phenomenal. I'll be honest. After this, we get to the main event, which is Bianca Belair versus Nia Jax. Now, to put things simple, this is pretty much a nothing burger of a match. There's no actual reason why this match really matters, because realistically speaking, right, even if no matter who gets the advantage here, and no matter who wins this match, the outcome does not matter, right? Realistically speaking, if you have the two world champions in the women's division on the same team, they should de facto be the favorites to win this match. But that little voice inside of your head and the way it's being booked lets you know that the good guys are probably going to end up winning this match, specifically with Rhea Ripley pinning Liv Morgan. And that makes no sense. How can you have the two WWE Women's Champions, the Money in the Bank, the Miss Money in the Bank, and you end up losing to what, a tag champion and a bunch of 4 other people who have no gold? It doesn't make any sense, right? The booking is stupid already. But then we get in the actual match, and Bianca Belair, no offense, Bianca Belair is one of my favorite women's wrestlers on the planet, but she needs to stop spamming this springboard moonsault garbage. She runs against the ropes, flips her feet back, and then does a moonsault. It's getting boring and repetitive now. We need to switch it up. All right, it's the same move every week. The reason why it's getting boring is because Bianca actually wrestles every week, so we're seeing the same moves over and over and over and over and over again. It's time to diversify, right? But the biggest thing in this match, literally, is that Nia Jax ends up getting, like Bianca lifts her up in an overhead press and then flips her over and throws her on her back. Very, very good spot. Great moment. Pretty much the long story of this match, Bianca rolls out of the ring, Nia Jax hits her with a Samoan drop on the table and tries to win by countout. While Nia Jax is already gloating and celebrating on the rope, Bayley comes over, knocks her off the rope, and pretty much Bianca's able to somehow get back in the ring in like a minute, or not even a minute, like 2 seconds, randomly after being, quote-unquote knocked out. She gets back in the ring and pretty much pins Nia Jax after hitting a 450 splash, which was sick. And that's that. Now the good guys, the good woman, I should say, on the Women's War Games match now have the advantage, so that's pretty much that. At the end of the day, I don't really care who has the advantage, because like I said, this Women's War Games match is poorly booked. It does not matter who wins. It doesn't matter how they win. And quite frankly, if there's 2 women's world champions on the same team, they should be the de facto winners anyway. So if they were to lose, it wouldn't make any sense and it would diminish your champions. But at the end of the day, Nia Jax is always getting pinned since she won the title. She always needs help. She's always on the verge of losing. She's always being made to look weak, even though she's supposed to be an annihilator. So the booking is ridiculous at this point. It doesn't make any sense, and I could care less for the Women's War Games match. And I'm actually going to end it with this, because this is something that everyone needs to understand. WWE's War Games this year in Survivor Series War Games is going to likely be mid. The only thing that's going to be good, or the only 2 things, are the Braun Breaker Intercontinental Championship Triple Threat match and maybe the Bloodline 5v5. The reason I say maybe is because the only good in-ring talents left at this current stage, at least in my personal opinion, like the only great in-ring wrestlers when you incorporate storytelling and actual moveset now, are Jacob Fatu, Sami Zayn, and I guess, Tama Tonga to an extent, and Roman Reigns. Those are the only 4 people out of these 10 dudes who are actually great wrestlers in the ring, along with Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed should be able to do some really good stuff. But the other 5 dudes are not that good at wrestling. And CM Punk is out of stamina in 10 seconds now. Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso have the same moveset. And Tama Tonga Loa is a botch master. We already know that. And Solo Sikoa hasn't developed in the ring the way he should have. So, realistically speaking, right, this is going to lead into my video tomorrow. So I'll end with this, like I said. This Survivor Series pay-per-view is looking bad. So everything tonight that's tried to serve Survivor Series and was rushed to build it up means absolutely nothing to me. Because not only was it poorly executed, not only was it rushed, but 90% of it is not going to matter whatsoever. So that's pretty much your Raw for tonight. I would give it a solid 4 out of 10. It's not the worst episode I've seen because there were a couple great things like the Creed Brothers match, the Xavier Woods and Kofi segment, and the fun moments with the Usos for like a couple minutes. And that was pretty much it. A couple moments in some of the other matches. But for the most part, this was an absolute disaster class of an episode. And I just remembered, I forgot to talk about the Final Testament and, the Wyatt 6 segment. Pretty much Scarlett gets beat up backstage. That's all you need to know. I don't care about the segment, and you don't either. So if you want to really go look up what happened, go look it up, because I'm trying to remember. Scarlett gets beat up, and that's pretty much that. The Final Testament walks back with The Miz, and that's that. That's literally all it is. Bo Dallas doesn't show up. Nikki Cross beats up Scarlett. That's it. That's the end of that segment. And hopefully, that's the end of this garbage Raw and the garbage storyline between those 2 trash factions. I'm giving this episode a 4 out of 10. Let me know what you thought about the episode in the comment section below. And as usual, I hope you guys have a phenomenal day. Stay tuned for the Survivor Series rant coming in tomorrow. And hope you guys have a phenomenal day. Peace out. One love.